45 minutes.
Me too. That's about my ride.
Hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yes.
You're good?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So where did you come from, Carol?
Baltic.
Oh, okay.
So it's 45 minutes, same thing.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, just coming from a different direction. Yeah.
Yeah. I love coming up here though this time of year. It's like
Beautiful,
trees are
right?
just like,
Oh my gosh, you know, because I come through Lake Shore, Lake
Yeah.
Haywood Road and Lake Shore. I think the way you used to go
Yep.
into Norwich.
Yep.
And it's absolutely gorgeous. Curvy though, curvy road. I don't
Yeah.
know that you'd want to do that in bad weather, but
Well, not in ice, but otherwise it's all right.
yeah.
You know, that was one of my fears when we built the school out here, was whether my students would actually come out here. And I was consulting the I Ching frequently at that point, and the I Ching was really encouraging me to go ahead, so we did. And the same thing. All my students said, oh, yeah, it's a little drive, but oh, what a beautiful ride.
Yeah.
So
and it's a testament to you and what you'd already built. You know, your
Well,
teaching and your studios, various places. You know.
yeah, well,
But isn't it the perfect spot though for a Tai Chi studio? I mean, honestly, just the woodland energy. It just you know, it's
Well,
beautiful.
you know what? After we got the house built, I spent some time exploring. We have 2.5 acres, not all that much, but a little bit. But I was looking, where are the strongest energy places, spots, and there were two. One is actually out in the backyard a ways, and the other one is where the school is.
Really.
And that's where I held class on Saturdays for quite a while, outdoors. A couple of years, I think, before we started to build the school. And it just, the energy has continued to grow in that spot, I think because of holding class there. Just really, yeah. So, good. It's so nice to have you both here.
I
and
know.
Both feeling well. And I'm feeling well. Wow.
We're missing 2 little characters.
Well, one I think is outdoors. Moki is on her ramble. And no doubt Mango will be down. She's been down once or twice already.
She was sleeping in the room. I poked my head in and say hello
Oh.
to see if I could entice her to come down, but
Yeah.
she's comfy. So.
She usually takes a nap about this time in the morning. So sometimes it's hard to disturb her.
Especially, I'll bet if she finds a sunbeam to sleep in. It's just,
She does like that.
yeah.
The other thing is to sit where one of us has been sitting. You know, she'll curl up. This morning Jane got up to go to the kitchen for something, I don't know, and Mango immediately jumped up, curled up where she'd been sitting, said, "This is my place." So, yeah, if you can't have a dog, it's really nice to have cats.
Oh gosh, We've had both many over the years. It just, you're right, it's so different. Their personalities so different,
yeah.
but just so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah. I feel you have to have that animal energy. And also, Master Joe used to always say, he talked a lot about observing different animals, how much we had to learn from them. And he talked a lot about cats, because they always walk with an empty step. They never fall on their feet unless they jump down or fall off of something. But if they're walking or running, it's always an empty step. And it's kind of neat to be aware of that.
Yeah.
Unless they're trying to get your attention, because my little 6-pound cat can when he wants.
Yeah,
But that's intentional.
Moki makes more noise than Mango does too. So. Yeah, Master Joe used to do push hands with his goat. And I'm not sure, I think the goat won a lot.
Yeah, animals just they have that openness to the energy. I mean, it's truly an energetic field that they use in their communications.
Yep.
And if you can, just try
Tune
and
into that.
tap to that, you've got that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we probably should move on. I did start the recording for Joanne. I love my TV show.
Fabulous.
How's your empty step? I mean your weight shift, not your empty step. We've talked about that, David. How's your weight shift?
The weight shift after 2 and 6 feels pretty intuitive, but I had to really be very careful I didn't get into rocking.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know when you're practicing and you want to concentrate on something,
Yep.
you tend to overdo the movement. So just letting it be just an intent of that feeling. So for me, it was more pulling back that feeling.
Good.
In my practice this week.
And also, part of bringing the weight shift into it is learning to keep your center the important point you're moving from. That you're not moving. I mean, we change that sometimes. We change our focus sometimes. But right now, we're really thinking that we want the lower dantian to be the center of everything we're doing. And as soon as you start rocking, you've lost that.
Mm.
So that's it. It is important to be able to. That's good. I mean, it sounds like you really made some progress with that.
Well, I was aware of it, that I was starting to get into a habit I didn't want to develop. But it's just, when you think, okay, toward the toes, toward the heel, it's very easy to get into that rocking motion to do that.
Yes, it is. And it's part of the process.
I think that's keeping focus on the dantian is the piece that I was missing, because I felt like as soon as I started thinking about the weight shifts that I wanted, that I was intending, I felt like everything else just fell apart.
Yeah.
And so I would go back to focusing on something else, make sure I still had that correct, and then go with that. So I think, thinking of the dantian as, because that would solve my problem with the bend and stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that would make a lot of difference for me to just kind of step out of the grass and look at the big picture. Because if you get in the weeds too much, it's good to be there once in a while, but I think maybe, taking the time to go through the weeds and then having that bigger picture.
Well, it's part of that is a natural process. You're going through appropriate stages. But back to our principle of separate and then combine. Whenever you introduce a new piece into anything, it throws everything out of balance for a while.
Mm.
Yeah.
And one has to just learn to accept that if you have the other things firmly under control, if you will, not exactly the word we would use for that, but functioning without your having to think a lot about them,
Yeah.
then it's an appropriate stage of they get a little out of balance because now you're having to think about something again.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the first step in separate and then combine is thinking about it and gradually working to where you don't have to think about it, you can simply be aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a process, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do have one question though,
Sure.
David. Last week you had, mentioned that when we practice at home to really take our time with, the last movement, letting the hands open naturally. When we're practicing that and taking our time, are we also rising slowly to mat? Because that was the hard part for me. Not so much the hands, it's like, oh, like how do I hold that and come up as slow as my hands want to open?
So my immediate response is don't hold, release. Let go.
Of the hands.
Well, you're letting go of the hands, you're letting go of the rising too.
Yeah, and the rising, I feel like I'm kind of having to hold myself in that position to come
Yep.
up slowly.
Yep.
And
Part of that is you're having the hands are simply an indication of your entire body. So you're simply having to let go of everything. The sooner you let go of everything, the sooner your hands will let go. And it's you're doing a perfectly appropriate process here. You're not unusual or bad or anything. This is just one of the stages we go through. But one other thing I would say is also that to be careful that in doing 6 that you don't squeeze the fists, because that's inappropriate also. This also blocks the flow of the energy. So what we call a soft fist, you can see through the center of it. And you may already be doing that. But if you do a soft fist, then the release usually within a few repetitions becomes much quicker. So I don't know if those things help you.
it does. I just wasn't sure if the rising, because when I do slow it down, I feel my hands get really full,
Yeah.
before it finally just release. And my hands don't ever open all the way when,
Oh no.
when they release, they're kind of,
Yeah, slightly curved,
yeah, it's like,
as
okay.
they should be.
Okay.
It's not that the fingers should be straight, but that the hand should be relaxed. It's interesting, letting go as a principle is really one of the most important early ones in, not only in Tai Chi and Neigong, but also in meditation. And it is a very basic Taoist principle, because and one of the problems is that culturally we are not taught to let go. We are taught if you try harder and do more, you can get there. And here we're saying, no, that's not the way to do it. You got to forget what you've been doing all your life, and just let it happen. Because that's how the hands let go. Is if you simply say, okay, let go. You ready to go? Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. But it doesn't happen. Boom.
Right.
It gets quicker as you go along.
And it is, but I was just having trouble coordinating it with
Yeah.
the rising movement.
So that's again being present with what's happening in your entire body. Yes, we have a focus on the hands, but you need to be aware of where the body is in relation to that, because this is a moment when another part of the body is controlling the pace of your movement.
So does that movement also come from the Dantian? Is
Mhm.
that okay, so if you concentrate on, as you were saying, Linda, then maybe, yeah, not concentrate so much on what my hands are doing and what my spine is doing, it just,
They're all part of it.
I know,
mean,
they're
that's,
but I think I'm doing like what you said, Linda, you're concentrating on the parts so much
Yep.
that you lose the focus of
Yep.
what the total movement is.
and that's a pretty natural thing for us culturally, I think. We get stuck in thinking too much.
Mm.
Thinking about too much. So, it sounds to me like you're working through a very natural process,
Okay.
and and you're making progress. And as with all of this, almost all of the time, it's a little bit at a time. And I know you practice. I can see that. So that's the wonderful thing is that since you do practice, you will make progress. It's when you don't practice that you don't make progress. You go backwards. At least sometimes. So you're actually doing a good job. It's a little slow. It's fine.
That's okay, I'll just keep adding.
Yeah. Anything for you, Linda?
No, I think the biggest thing is keeping in mind that parts to the whole
Yeah.
kind of thing, and the consistency of the practice I know is huge, and I know that my schedule sometimes doesn't allow the consistency that I'd like.
Yeah.
But so I recognize that the more I can put into it, the more I'm going to get out of it, and I have.
Yeah.
It's really gotten to the point where that's my priority. I've made that my priority to put it in as often as possible. So
Yeah.
so
Good.
it's yeah.
Trisha was going to say something else, but so I know what I was going to say. I'm sure I've said this before, but as I was thinking about this class this week, I was thinking of one of the things I wanted to say is, or to even to ask you, why are we doing this before we meditate? What's its purpose? I mean, many meditation systems, if you will, don't do this, and it's not that they're less effective or just that they're different, but why are we doing this?
My feeling is that it's it's starting my focus inward,
Mhm.
which is where I want the meditation to be, but it's also putting my focus on the energy. And
Yes.
and so feeling that energy, you know, doing the motions that will stir up that energy, because I know there are days where I do meditation without starting this way. And I feel like my mind is just far, far, far more scattered.
Mhm.
I really feel like I need something that's turning me inward
Yep.
more.
I found exactly the same because when I first started, I was doing the heaven and earth in the morning when I got up to get my energy going, and the meditation at night before bed. Thinking, oh, that'll kind of bring my brain down. And it just got to be so busy in the evening that sometimes you're just too tired, and it was getting let go. So I switched it where I'm doing it now in the morning after heaven and earth. And I know exactly what you're saying, Linda, that it really helps my focus. Yeah, I can stay present a lot more. And just as you said, it really helps bring that energy up.
Good.
You know.
Because clearly with the stage of Taoist meditation that we're at now in the beginning, one of the really big issues is feeling the energy. And that's really what we're hoping that, for one thing, that heaven and earth will help with, is make you help you be able to feel the energy better when you sit down to meditate. So, good. Good. You both, I'm was delighted with what you had to say about that. That's great. So do a little heaven and earth. I guess for the sake of the rest of the class, since this is a class, maybe just 10 reps.
Sideways or front?
Doesn't matter.
Because we're in person.
I can see you.
Yes.
You're not going to be able to hide
Oh,
here.
gosh. No, that pole is not big enough.
You could go wherever you like in the room.
Oh, God. I just have to be sure I have.
Yeah, sure.
I don't-
No,
I don't-
absolutely.
Block here.
No, it's fine. definitely progress. A few things that, as usual, we can work on a little. One of the things I would say for both of you is to work on using a whole body movement to step out and step in, because the practice begins from here, not when you get here. Okay, so it's the same as every stepping out that we use in our particular practice. You're going to turn and sink away from the leg that's going out, so that it is the dropping into this leg that moves this one. So and don't
Oh, you mean,
do this.
okay.
It's coming from here. So this is a release into here, which allows the energy to go out. This is actually this comes from Tai Chi, this particular step. It is actually to give. Sometimes this helps to get an idea about it. It's a sidekick. That's what it is.
So it's not an empty step, it's not.
It is an empty step.
Oh.
But the source of the movement, from a martial standpoint, is that it's a sidekick. So, but yes, it's an empty step. Yeah, you get to here, it's empty. Then you fill it. Then you fill it in a curve, as a matter of fact.
So you step before you come up.
Absolutely.
I wasn't doing that.
No,
No,
we hadn't looked at this particularly, and I don't. It may have been a while since we looked at it. The reverse is just the same. Now that I was stepping out with my left foot because you should be stepping out with your right. So when you go to step back in, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to turn away from where you want that foot to be, and it's the turn back that brings that foot in, brings that leg in. So it's whole body movement. So that's a good thing to practice a little. We get so much in a rush about doing our practice that we think, oh, I haven't got very much time, I'll just get into it. Well, no, take the time. don't, it's better to do less fully than a whole lot poorly. So work on trying to include that. I think, Carol, for you, one of the big things I would say is to make sure that your body is constantly moving, because it gets stuck. So the same problem that you were talking about with 7 is happening elsewhere, and you may or may not be aware of it. But that's one of the real difficult things is to keep that bending and extending constantly going, never ends. And it's going at different paces. It's a difficult piece. I pretty much felt you were doing that most of the time. I didn't feel that was a big thing for you. One of the things too, at the very beginning, that transitional movement, I really think I prefer that to preparation, but it is not bringing the hands out here. That's part of 1. It is just letting everything bend, and the whole body is twisting and bending. It's not that you have to do something else. It doesn't have to be bigger. It's all happening here. Because one of the things is that if you don't bend and twist in, you don't have any place to extend and twist out as you go up and back to 2. And one thing that can kind of help 1 and 2 is to think of 1 that everything is going out, and 2 everything is spreading. Now I'm pushing those movements in my hands so you can see them, but that's happening throughout the whole body. So it is, we are thinking of 1 is going out and 2 is spreading, extending. So that there are really 2 stages of that extension. And then a big piece, you're both starting this really well. When you get to the point where Lao Gong connects to that point here, and you need to feel that energetically, the body continues to seek, but the arms do not. The arms do this while the body's sinking. Then the body rises all the way through 4 and 5. That's probably more than enough to think about. Do you have a question?
No.
Oh,
No.
you looked kind of like you had a question.
It was more just again putting parts together.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's.
You know, this initially this seems like, oh, that's so simple, but it is simple, but it isn't easy. There's just a lot to it, and one of the things is that for instance, in 1 you're raising the energy up, and in 2 you're spreading the energy through the body. Because it's 3 that completes that flow, actually, interestingly enough, to this point. Because the first flow of the energy is coming up the back and over the top of the head to this point. And then the yin is going down, and interestingly enough, as always, going from yin to yang. But we don't need to get too involved. The details go on and on. So, questions that you have, either one of you?
No, the details help, they're, yeah.
Yeah, great. Let us sit. Eventually we'll get to a point where I don't interrupt this transition between the doing heaven and earth and the meditation, because obviously that to some degree interrupts what we're trying to accomplish with the 2, but this is a class, not just but we will get to places where I allow that to happen a little more often. So I'm going to actually, we're going to look at a little different focus of our meditation for a little while. It's still basically where we are, just beginning to move you a little more internally. So just be aware that your feet are flat on the floor and your hands are in a comfortable position, however you'd like to have them. And remember that we always want that little bit of space in the armpits. And one of the things I might say about that is that you want to make sure you're not trying to lift the elbows so much that you create tension in the shoulders. The Taoists tend to describe that as being space as being just large enough for a robin's egg, not very big. So it doesn't have to be a big thing, but it needs to be an awareness that there is a little space there. And I might say that, in case I've never said this, that space is important because one of the most important energy cavities in the body is in the center of the armpit. And it is one which connects directly to the internal organs. And it is the energy going, one of the places where the energy goes directly to the organs and then condenses and moves through them. Every time we open and close the energy gates, which is part of what eventually we're doing. But the reason for keeping that space is because it's a very important energy connection to the internal organs. So, breathe. And take a little time to become as present and aware as you can at the moment. And then scan down from the top of your head to the bottom, not to the bottom of your feet, down to your dantian. And right now you're just trying to relax and release any tight or congested areas that you feel. And just sit and breathe and feel every part of your body. Be aware of your breathing as it enters every part of your body. You want to do this until you feel that everything is moving and you begin to find a sense of stability in your body. A sense that there is nothing that is jumping around, going from here to here and there to there. A sense that everything is quite still and stable. as you inhale and exhale. When you really practice this the second or third time, it can even take as much as an hour until you arrive at this point. But it is good if you can arrive at this point. When you do arrive at this point, then start from the top of your head again, releasing any tight or blocked places, letting them drop downwards. Keep releasing down as completely as you can. And then going back to the top of your head, let your brain have the experience of falling out of your skull until finally it begins to drop into your throat. Let it drop down to your chest. Feel the sense of your brain dropping through your body, connecting and communicating with whatever points of your body it touches, but not going back up towards your head. It moves in just one direction, down only. Let it drop until it begins to fuse with your heart. Now in the beginning, that sense of your brain and your heart will seem to be different. But just give them the time to get together. As you do this, let the sense of the whole of your brain and the whole of your heart dissolving until they arrive at a tiny pinpoint right in the center of your heart. A very tiny pinpoint. Going into that point. This pinpoint is opening into a space that has no dimension. There is only what you are, more on the outside of it or more on the inside of it. And that's about all anybody can initially recognize. Let yourself go in as far as you can. Some days you will go in further, and other days you will go in less. Some days you will go in radically further, and some days you will only go in a tiny little bit. And such is the nature of it. Looking for total consistency is just not realistic, because so many factors can determine the outcome, the depth to which you are able to go. you keep on going and have patience and perseverance, sooner or later, whatever it is, to a tiny degree or a greater degree, your mind is going to settle in the center of your heart. And then you just go very, very quiet and recognize what's going on. Have no idea what it should be or should not be. It will reveal itself to you completely, to your capacity to understand it. And that capacity will usually, with practice and time, grow. So when the Tao Te Ching says, "How do I thus know what the origin of all things is indeed so?" By this, end of the quote. Be aware that this is not stated at the end of knowing it. This is at the beginning of knowing it. So these are the first steps on the road that must be taken to understand what this line means. And when you are ready, you can begin to close. all benefit gained from this practice, out to help all the sentient creatures of the universe. Any thoughts or questions? Thank you.
Thank you, David. Your voice so you can end the recording.
I always forget that. But thank you
Yep.
for the reminder.
Well,